Alright, here's a quick vid on how to make a vacuum mold. It's not going to be real precise, but here's how I did it. I've got 3 picture frames, 8 by 10. What's real important, I don't know if you can see it here or not, is that you have a nice wide flat edge. That's going to help you get a seal when you start to make these things. Really simple. Here's the glass, and the backing that came with it is a nice stiff backing. First thing I did was cut a hole that would fit my vacuum hose in the bottom of this. I just hot glued this. I was in a hurry. Cut a hole, put your vacuum hose in it, hot glue it, take your frame, just like you normally would. I used hot glue because that's what I had available, and just sealed this up nice and tight so it's good and strong. It isn't going to go anywhere. You can pick up a roll of weather seal, like for $2 or $3 at Home Depot or something like that, or any place, your local hardware. It doesn't have to be real pretty. Stick it on this flat edge, and that's going to create a nice seal when you put your other frames on top of it. The next step is to take 2 more picture frames. I didn't do a very good clean job on this. I was in a hurry. I drilled holes on the perimeter about the middle of the frame, countersunk it, and that's really important. You want to make sure these heads are countersunk so they don't create any gaps or any place for air to get through when you're trying to seal this thing. You want to put your 2 frames face to face, so again you got a nice tight seal. Put some bolts in it with some wing nuts. When you go to use your piece of plastic, this is 8 by 10. Just a regular 8 by 10 insert will work. What you do is you loosen the screws, pop a couple out. Here, I'll do it real quick. Like this. Take a piece of plastic, slide it between the frames, and you want to make sure that you got a nice tight fit all the way around this thing. That way when you tighten it down, it holds the plastic nice and tight, so when we do our molding process, there's no gaps, so on and so forth. It's a relatively simple process. When you're done, make sure you tighten these down so it holds the plastic nice and firm, because any air gaps you get are going to ruin the thing. That's basically it as far as construction. 3 frames, cut a hole in the backing, secure your vacuum hose to it, put some weather seal on it so it's nice and tight. Put your 2 remaining frames face to face, countersink the heads on the bolts with wing nuts, and make sure that your plastic fits well inside of the frame opening. That way, again, when you're doing your vacuum sealing, it has a nice tight grip and it won't allow any air in. Just for the sake of this quick video, I got a little clay out here. I've been doing some molding. Actually, I cut my sheets a little bit bigger than this. I get 4 pieces per sheet. Works out really well. With the new 2mm stuff I've got, it comes to about like $1.75 canopy. So, quick overview. 3 frames. Drill a hole in your backing, the size of your hose. Attach it, using hot glue or whatever method you want, to the backing. Secure the backing, make sure it's nice and airtight. That's the key. Everything has to be airtight. Put a roll of weather seal around the perimeter. Take your 2 remaining frames, drill holes in the frames. Countersink your heads, very important. Use wing nuts or whatever you want. I use wing nuts because they're nice and quick. When you cut your piece of plastic, make sure that your piece of plastic falls well inside the frame. Usually I leave about a ½ inch on either side. I just had this laying here just for demonstration purposes. But tighten it down when you're done. And after that, I'll show you here in a minute what you actually do when you want to start the molding process. Speaking of molds, I'll grab one. This is my 200 mold. It's really simple. I stuffed the nose with some clay. I made sure it was nice and smooth here at the opening. You can see some marks on this. I've made some and I've used my Dremel to cut it out. It really helps when you're pulling these things from the mold. What's really important when you're making a mold is to make sure that everything gets larger from the point to the end. You want to make it bigger, or I guess like a cone for lack of a better expression, because if it gets smaller it's going to hang inside of that mold and make it a real pain in the ass to pull out of there. I'm using a B2 canopy for practice. I've only got, a B1, I'm sorry. I've only got one B2 canopy and I really don't want to ruin it because during my practice runs I crushed one. So it took a lot of trial and error to figure out how to get this right. The key is to make sure that everything grows larger, or it fans out. So when you go to pull this thing, it doesn't hang inside of that. Another important thing is with the style of vacuum, I don't know what you call it. What I'm using, I've got a single hole in the middle. Some guys use pegboard. That's a little bit more intricate. Maybe can get into that a little later. But you want to make sure that you cut grooves in the base of the mold. That way when it sits flat, I don't know if you can see this or not, but it doesn't clog up the vacuum hose. Because if it was level and it sat right on top there, this would end up just sucking to the end of the hose and you'd lose all your vacuum pressure. So that's pretty simple. Again, you want to let this is just clay. It costs $5 and it's very inexpensive. Make sure it's pretty smooth. Everything gets bigger. You can use whatever size canopy you want. One thing that's really important is you want this to be solid, because the vacuum pressure will crush your fiberglass canopy if it's not filled with something that keeps it strong. And if there's gaps in it, it'll actually suck it together, so when you get done it'll be a little deformed. You don't want that either. Anyway, quick vid, very simple construction, very simple process. I've got some 2mm plastic that I'm using to make these things acrylic. It was cheap and I'm cheap, so not cheap, I guess I'm just poor, but works great. I'll make a canopy here in just a minute and show you guys how that works out.